Let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Schreiber from Agriculture Development Group. His topic is about disease control in berries.
All right, I have mashed together a few different studies that I did. I'm going to just jump right in here and start on my first one. And everybody knows mummy is a big problem in blueberries, but it's really a problem in organic blueberries. And Washington has about 5,500 acres of organic blueberries, and it is arguably the fastest growing sector in our industry. In 2018, we had about 30 million pounds of organic blueberries. It's worth about $80 million. And I don't know if I say this. Okay, so this 30 million pounds is more than the rest of the country produces combined. Washington, Oregon, and California put together maybe have a little over 20 million pounds, and there's not much outside of Oregon, Washington, California, or outside the West Coast. Now, 90% of organic production is Eastern Washington, and at this time is free of mummyberry, but Tobin Peaver swears that it's eventually going to jump the Cascades and get over there. However, in Western Washington, mummyberry is somewhere between production limiting and production ending, and you got losses that will reach 50% or more from this in organic productions. And arguably, there's no good way to control mummyberry that's NOP compliant, or that's what Jay Scheidt, OSU plant pathologist, stated a couple years ago. And this is a priority to address for the Blueberry Commission because there's terrible losses in Western Washington. And if it were to show up in Eastern Washington, it would threaten that whole industry, and that's probably 25% of our industry is organic blueberries. And as I said, there are a few products that have efficacy. Also, conventional blueberry growers have problems with botrytis and mummyberry. For example, there are products that come on the market with no efficacy data, and we have a widespread fungicide resistance to botrytis. And I want to jump into some of the work that I've been doing. This is some work from 2016, and there's 14 treatments that are ranked by the number of flower strikes, flower and leaf strikes, and it's ranked by the most efficacious product. So lime sulfur is a really, really good product. You spray it on the berm and on the plant. You do, 4 applications, 5-7 days apart, but you can only do it pre-bloom. Only pre-bloom. In tree fruit, they use lime sulfur as a blossom thinner. So trust me, you want to spray early. The other product that was interesting in here was Oso. Oso is not an organic product yet, but more on that later. Another product that had significant activity is Regalia. Okay, that's 2016. When we looked at infected fruit, the programs worked better. So that was actinovate, 4 application actinovate followed by Oso, or Oso rotated Regalia, and lime sulfur rotated with Oso. So again, Oso is showing up in all 3 of these products. In 2017, we did not have very good weather that wasn't conducive for disease development. And we basically had very little mummyberry and very little botrytis, so I didn't have much to talk about. We moved our site in Skagit because of the low disease pressure to Whatcom County. Holy smokes. This place is east of here, south and east of here, and boy, does this place have mummyberry. And there's no history of fungicide use, so there's no resistance. And so the mummyberry pressure here is really high, and botrytis or gray mold pressure is high if the environmental conditions are conducive for disease. And if you know anything about mummyberry, you know these unfortunate pictures. This is the leaf strike. This is the kind of the pumpkin looking mummified berry. There's another flower strike or a leaf strike. It's very diagnostic. You get this shepherd's crooking. Here you can see the white mycelium. Lots and lots of pictures at our research site. So the other thing I want to point out is if you look at this for our results for 2018, I want to show you earlier in the season there was a lot of rain, but in May through July, this is the precipitation from May through July. This is a 10-year average, and bear in mind the previous 4 years have been drier than average. So this includes 4 years that were drier than average, and we had a very dry year during the botrytis season. So as a result, unfortunately, we had significant mummyberry pressure because we had good disease conditions early on, but we had poor conditions for botrytis later on. And this is these are 14 programs. So the untreated check, this is just Regalia. This is 7 application Regalia, 7 application Actinovate, Oso, and then we had programs, Stimplex, tank mixed with Oso. Oso, rotated in tank mix with Regalia, Actinovate, Stimplex. And then we had just various kinds of programs. And when you rank these programs by flower strikes, the one with the least strikes for shoots and flowers was Regalia, followed by 4 applications of lime sulfur, Actinovate and Regalia. We also had Oso and Regalia tank mixed, Oso alone, and we had lime sulfur were among the best treatments. And evaluating this by strikes on shoots and flowers is probably a better way to evaluate the number of mummies. But if you look at this by number of mummies, again, it's Oso, Regalia, lime sulfur, and Oso, 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 Regalia. And then we had double nickel and Oso. So from the work we did in 2016 and the work that we did in 2018, the products that seemed to have the best activity was Oso, Regalia, lime sulfur, and either double nickel or Actinovate, but not as great as these 3 products. So if I had to work with 3 products for for mummy berry control, I'd be thinking about Oso, Regalia, and lime sulfur. Now, Oso is not currently certified for organic production, so don't rush out and spray it yet. This product has been around for decades. It's distributed by Certis, and I have a lot of experience with Oso. It's currently registered, as is its sister formulation, PhD. Right now, they're both registered on blueberries. They're both conventional products, but Oso is in the process of being certified organic. And I have been on a full court pressure to get Oso organically certified, and I put a lot of effort into this. And somewhere between March, April, June, we're going to get the certification. Now, it's gone through the Department of Ag organic certification process, and they're done with it, but they're not going to issue its final certificate until NOP does its assessment on it. But hopefully we'll get it in time for the 2019 use season. And it is not by any means the most effective fungicide, but I'm going to guarantee you it's one of the most effective organic fungicides. And so I'll show you some data later on. When you show Oso compared to conventional fungicides, it doesn't look that great. But when you're comparing it against organic fungicides, it's the man. This has been around for decades. It has a multi-site mode of action. It's never had resistance. It's a different mode of action, very, very flexible, very forgiving label that lets you make lots of applications in a season. And I always get in trouble with this, but when I ever talk about price, someone always gives me a hard time about this. And I actually sent this slide out to the company and let them see this to make sure I wasn't saying anything wrong about their product. They didn't like the last line, and they said, we're not going to tell you to change it, but here's why you shouldn't say it. But I'm going to tell you, when you see that price, and I said, it's too expensive. It's going to be a barrier for use, and I want growers to use this. And they said, oh, well, we're planning to raise the price because it became organic, that we should be able to charge more for it. But who wants to spend $70 an acre for a fungicide? How do you feel about that, Mr. Sakuma? You're getting all excited about it because I'm telling you, you got a great new product. And then, okay. We also conducted a trial looking at conventional fungicides in blueberries that are targeting mummyberry and botrytis. And okay, I know you all probably, I'm going to lose you on this, but these are programs. And so this is Indar, followed by Proline, followed by Bravo, followed by Pristine, followed by Switch, followed by Kinja. This number 3 is just Fontellus 6 times. Wait a minute. Hey, Tom Walters, you're in here, aren't you? We were going to do 6 applications, but because it was so warm, it got compressed, or did we? Oh, that was a raspberry one. Okay, we did 6. Okay, and by the way, I'm giving the talk. Tom Walters is the guy that did most of the field work on this, just for the record. This was 6 applications of Fontellus. This is Fontellus, followed by Fontellus, followed by Indar, Pristine, Switch. And when you see these there's reasons for doing this. But we wanted to see if there's a block effect if you spray Fontellus twice, Indar twice, followed by Pristine and Switch, versus rotating Fontellus versus Indar, followed by Pristine. If one of these is better than the other, and each of these, there's a reason for it. This one here is one you might want to do for resistance management. These 2 are resistance management high-end programs. So if you're doing export quality fruit, you can't have any botrytis, you're worried about resistance management, and you've got some money in your pocket, there's 2 of these. People are recommending clothalonil, which is Bravo, and I wanted to put that in to see how it works. And each one of these, there's a reason for it. And we have this down here. I bet nobody in the room can tell me what this product here that says TIG. Of course you can't because it's my code, but TIG is for a product I've never heard of. It's called Turmeric Gold. And I bet some of our Canadian friends know about, what do you know about turmeric gold, Mr. Sweeney? It's, okay, it came out of nowhere. It's registered. It's an extract from the tea tree plant. And they've got it in Canada before us. Usually it's the other way around, but it's coming here. And I believe it's organically certified. And so this would be an organic program, but it got stuck into this program. We have Kinja. Kinja is a new product. It is an awesome botrytis product, but there was a study out of Michigan that said it had activity against mummyberry. And it's a FRAC group 7, no FRAC group 7 fungicide has activity against mummyberry that I know of, but we put it in just to see if we could duplicate what happened in Michigan. And this is the same treatments, but it's ranked by flower and leaf strikes 46 days after the A application. And the first thing I want to point out is look at this. Kinja is the second best treatment. So as a result of them getting results like this in Michigan and us doing it here, they have put mummyberry on the Kinja label based on the results from this study. Now, what came in the best was this kind of Cadillac program of Luna Tranquility, followed by Proline, followed by Luna Tranquility, tank mixed with Captan, followed by Proline, tank mixed with Captan, followed by Omega, tank mixed with Captan, and Abound, tank mixed with PhD and Captain. And you can see that a number of these, there's a number of these program that did very well. Here's Fontellus by itself. Now it turns out Fontellus is a group 7 fungicide, and it had activity against mummyberry. And this is a second group 7, FRAC group 7. It looks like it has some mummyberry activity, but I'd like to have confirming, I'd like to do this some more. Without going into details, you see this B here, and you see these B's down here, which tells you there's a lot of variability in our data, and we don't know how strong of a product this is. I want to point out, chlorthalonil is down here. That did not shine. Roverol did not shine as a mummyberry product. Now, if you look at the same set of data ranked by mummyberry, a percent of mummified berries 108 days after, you look at Bravo is down here, very similar to the check. So I would not be using Bravo for mummyberry. Fontellus is up here, so that's all promising. Here's Oso here. Oso doesn't look as good. In fact, it doesn't look good at all when you compare it against conventional products. So I did another trial, or I should say more accurately, Tom Walters and I did a trial funded by the Western Red Raspberry Commission looking at gray mold in raspberries, and Tobin fever is always kind of hovering around us. We did this work at Rob Dollywall's, and he has let us use, what would you say, is it, Tom, was it 2 acres? What's that? Solid acre. All right, solid acre. I think it's more than solid acre. I think it's closer to 2. How long are those rows? They're long rows, and what? 600 feet, and how many do we have? 20? 12? Because we have 14 rows, 600 feet. I can't do the math in front of everybody. Anyway, Rob has let us use that, and it has been, we have fundamentally shifted what we know about product efficacy, products to use, products to rotate with, based on the work that we did at Rob's place. And so we're very appreciative of the work that he's done. So this is, again, my too long list of products. So we looked at 30 different treatments for controlling. We got PhD, we got Omega, Luna Tranquility, Scala, some things you've never heard of before, Miravoss, you probably haven't heard of Miravoss. And then we have some experimentals. We have Serenade, anyway, several experimentals. And, oh yeah, remember the weather this year? We did not find a single berry that was infected with botrytis the entire season. And I don't know how many berries may have been looked at, but we'll say in the low thousands. And we never, did you ever see an infected berry, Tom? I didn't. So it's almost like if you let me put a botrytis trial on your farm, you will not have to spray fungicides. But as a result, there was no botrytis, but we were not going to be satisfied with failure. And so Tom picked a bunch of berries. So this would represent one replicate, like this is 218. Here's another 230. So he picked these berries and put them in our, we're going to call it our incubation chamber. And we decided to see what would happen. Now we rated the berries, which would mean Tom, rated the berries at 2, 4, and 6 days after harvest. A curious thing happened, a very curious thing. We didn't see infected berries in the field, but all of the berries had botrytis on them. It just that the weather conditions were not conducive. I heard someone give a talk recently, a real plant pathologist give a talk, and they said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and every talk I give, I put in the disease triangle, where you got to have a host, you've got to have the disease, and you've got to have environmental conditions. And we had the host, we had the disease, but it was just so dry that the botrytis, which was out there on every stinking berry, just never materialized. It was striking. It was stunning. And when you look at the data, so this is all of these treatments, and here's at 2 days, at 4 days, and at 6 days. And I analyzed all the data, and I'm saving you guys. I'm doing you a favor by only showing you one of these slides. And this is just ranked by percentage of berries infected 4 days after harvest, correct, Tom? 4 days after harvest. Now this isn't overly meaningful, but whenever you see down here at the bottom, you see untreated check having the most, and you see products that you know have activity up here, it tells you that it is probably somewhat of a useful indicator of comparative efficacy. Now, I'm not trying to trash talk products, but Serenade is one that's known not in this scenario, the way we're using it, wouldn't be expected to have much efficacy, and indeed, it was very similar to the untreated check, so that's even more evidence. So Omega Mirabos, not yet registered. It's in the process of being registered. Again, another group, frac group 7. Here's Proline, Luna Tranquility, PhD, Captain, Kinja Pontelis. Oh, so I don't want to go too far down here because pretty soon we're getting low. But we got some data. And one is that this product, Mirabos, common name Depidan, that's another one that's coming. It's very promising. This is one we just got registered. It's promising. Captain, Kinja. So we did get some useful data. So we salvaged something out of this. We also found that some of these experimentals probably maybe don't have much hope in the situation that we were in. But I'm going to tell you, it's important to realize that even in years where you don't see any mold symptoms, all it is going to take is a change in weather conditions, and you can have a full-blown botrytis infestation very quickly. So if it would have been, I don't know, maybe you're on halfway through your pick. If it starts raining, it's go time with the sprayer. This was the year where we saw the lowest. We've been doing this for 5 years, and it seems like every year we do this, there's less and less botrytis. And we assumed that there wasn't botrytis out there, but it was. Every berry had botrytis. The spores are out there. Okay, but it's a trial, and I'll tell you what, we're out there working, and I'm not asking anyone to feel sorry. I cashed the checks for this, we're getting paid, but holy smokes, I look old and beat down, and that's exactly how I felt when we get done doing these evaluations. We found that there was a rust infestation going out there, a yellow rust infestation, And so there was 4 of us out there, and we did, oh my God, I don't know, it was 50 leaves per plot. I can't do the math, but thousands of leaves. So we're up there rating thousands of leaves over there, and this is towards the end. I said we ought to get a picture so we get a talk. And now I want to point out that these are products that were applied at the timing to control botrytis, not to control yellow rust. So what this really is what is the ability of these botrytis products applied at the botrytis timing to control yellow rust? And as it turns out, here's the untreated check, and here's some down here, but there's some products up here, Kinja, Proline, here's Oso, Switch Captan. There's some products applied for botrytis that will pick up yellow rust. And there is a big difference, and these are statistically significant difference, 1% down to from 67% of the leaves infected. So we picked up for having a really bad botrytis year, we were able to actually generate some useful data. Now, we have learned the hard way that when we do research, it seems to scare off botrytis, but the one place that botrytis has no fear is in blackberries. And this is blackberries that the harvest starts later. The harvest goes more into the fall. It's cooler and rainy, and we always get botrytis on blackberries. Here's some products. Again, it's ranked by incidence. And here's this new product, Mirabos. It's very, very effective. Here's untreated check. Now here's Pristine. Why would Pristine be down here now it's not statistically different than untreated check, but numerically it was poorer than the check. Well, because we have the very good fortune of having Tobin Peever's group in here, we know that I skimmed the 5 minutes thing. I got to pick up the pace. The short story here is this: there is boscalid resistance in this field. So this has a history of some boscalid use, Pristine, and you see Elevate up there. This is what happens when you have resistance and you use a product that is resistant. Up here, this one has a product that there's no resistance to, fludeoxonil. There's no resistance to this one, no resistance to this one, or this one, or this one. So there's some useful information there. Okay, I got to move on. The clock's ticking. So I've got some good news. Got some good news for you all. We have 3 new and very good fungicides being registered on blueberries and raspberries. We also got a 4th one that's registered blueberries only, and a 5th one coming soon on caneberries only. There's Fontellus. It's a Corteva product. It's going to be registered in January 2019. High bush blueberries, caneberries, strawberries. Based on the work we've got, it's got excellent activity against yellow rust, botrytis. It has, I wish I would have qualified this. We need more data on its efficacy against mummyberry, but it appears to have activity on mummyberry. It is in FRAC group 7, which is the same as Bosca, 1/2 of Pristine, which I was just talking about. We've got widespread resistance to Pristine. Our data and Tobin data, which is better than our data, he's got some very good lab data, shows that Fontellus is effective against Pristine-resistant botrytis, even though it's in the same FRAC group. We also have some residue data. I'll be talking about this tomorrow. That shows the residues decline pretty quickly. Now, this doesn't have all the MRLs yet that we would like to have, but the residues decline pretty quickly. But if you might export your fruit, you've got to watch out for the MRLs. We got Luna Tranquility. I mentioned this one. It's registered. It's now registered on all berries. It's interestingly enough also a systemic nematicide. Tom, have you worked on that in raspberries? Well, that's all you need. I mean, that's fine. The other part doesn't have nematicide. Can you real quick put you on the spot? How is it for nematicide in raspberries? You haven't seen great efficacy. Well, okay, I do some work on this as a nematicide. I have 1-year data in nematicide on potatoes. It's not a season-long product. You've got to use some other products with it, but it does have nematicidal activity, and it was against Pradolinkus and Loidicon. Okay, it's a package mix of flupiram, which is group 7, same as boscalid, and pyrithranil. I don't know if I said it, pyrithranil, which is a group 9 fungicide. the flupiram is the same as boscovite or pristine, but it's active against the pristine or boscovite resistant botrytis. And again, Tobin fever, and I have got data that supports this. The interesting thing is that pyrethranil is in the same group as cypronil, which is half of what is in switch. And we've got resistance to switch, and Tobin fever says there's cross resistance. So you don't want to use this product. This is not the ideal product to use in rotation with pristine. But I will tell you, in my work, if you don't have pristine resistance, this has been one of the most effective fungicides in every trial that I've used, resistance aside. But it's really important. You got to think through your resistance management program. Moving on, three more slides. Kinja, it's been registered for 2 years, all berries, excellent activity against botrytis. It appears to have activity against mungberry at the high rate. Again, frat group 7, same as boscovite, has excellent activity against boscovite resistant botrytis. And again, Tobin and I have data to support this. Resistance management is critical to keeping this product and these other ones, because most of the new ones we have, dang it, they're in the same group to the products that we already have resistance to. But I'm going to tell you, for example, you can't rotate pristine and Kinja and Fontellus and Luna Tranquility. You can't rotate them with each other. You can't rotate switch with Luna Tranquility. It's going to get complicated, and you're going to need a very complicated scorecard on how to do this. Wrapping it up, Proline, group 3, recently registered. It's the same group as Indar, so don't rotate with Indar. It's blueberries only. Activity is mummyberry, rust, anthracnose, botrytis, Phomopsis alternaria. 2 applications a year, 7 to 8 phi. It's hard to differentiate from Indar. They both work well. Proline picks up botrytis, Indar doesn't. Indar picks up powdery mildew, Proline doesn't. The big deal is Proline does not have all of its MRL. So use it on fresh berries, but if you're doing it for processed berries, beware of MRLs. Last slide. I just got this slide sent to me this morning by Gary Melchior of Gowan. Magister Phenoxyquim, it's a fungicide, powdery mildew, raspberries only. It's registered on cherries and hops. It's going to January 29, caneberries, and it has mite activity. This is a miticide and fungicide, so think about that for raspberries. And it's a perfectly good product. And you're speaking in the mic, but I can't hear you.
If anyone has questions?
All right, thank you.